We're live now.
Okay, well, welcome everyone to this 11 a.m. Economic Development Committee meeting on October 15th. Mr. Clerk, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts. I saw her on here, but I'm not hearing her response at the moment. Commissioner Epperson.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here.
All right. By this count, you have 4 out of 5 present right now. You do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Forgive me for not reaching out to you guys previously regarding the invocation and the pledge, but Commissioner Chavez, would you please lead us in the invocation? And Commissioner Epperson, could you please lead us in the pledge?
10-4.
Absolutely. All heads bowed. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for all the blessings that you've given us. Every day we try harder to walk by your word. And although we stumble, we ask for forgiveness. And we ask that you lead us in the way that you would have us serve the people of this parish. Thank you, Lord. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's all stand, please. I think the clerk will put up a flag. All military and veterans render the standard hand to brow salute. All others hand across your heart. And let's repeat the pledge in unison. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate that. Mr. Clerk, do we have any agenda additions?
I'm not aware of any.
Okay.
You want to move on to public comments?
Please.
Okay, we've not received any electronic public comments, but at this time I can give out the phone number in case anybody wants to call in. That number is 318-226-6596.
We'll just give them just 1 minute to see if anyone dials in.
Mr. Chairman, may I go ahead and make some statements? Because I'm not sure if the staff will come in the middle of this, and just to kind of get it out of the way.
If it's okay, I think that the body would be happy to let you speak at this time, Commissioner Hudson.
Okay, thank you very much. You may have to give me a little more time. It may take me a few more minutes to get all this out. I just want to start out and say, we're basically back to this committee meeting, and we have a project. Blanchard just came to the commission, and they are currently trying to do a water project in the Belvidere area. They came to us since they were working on this project to give us the opportunity to upsize the lines leading to the I-49 corridor for future economic development growth, and also for future growth up the 71-30-49 corridor toward Halston, Hyde area, in the future. And let me tell you, just kind of go over a little bit of what's happened over the years. It was about 5 or 6 years ago, East Morningsport, East Cove, both were fledgling water systems that owed extreme amounts of money, and the parish was about to have to take those two systems over, and they were also on the hook for some money. And at that time, Blanchard built a new plant and started providing bulk water to Morningsport, and at the same time worked with us and worked with the state to do away with the fines, and they were multiple amounts of fines for both water systems, and then we were actually going to be on the hook for. So they have been a partner, for the last I would say at least 6 years, and probably longer, trying to get better water into North Caddo Parish. And then Belvidere system has basically the same problems in that they are using alluvial water from the river area, and the quality is just not there. And they have had problems and have multiple fines also. So Blanchard went and got a $3.7 million grant and to fix that system. And then they came to us and said, hey, here's what we can do. We can provide you while the grounds open up, and it's less cost to upsize these lines for future growth. And at the same time, we can go back and with this pressure, get back to Oil City, and we can run a loop that now will loop basically Mooringsport, Blanchard, Oil City, Beldegill, and anything in between that's on that line. And this week they had a major break on the Blanchard line. So if we would have had that circle, they could have cut their valves off, and Oil City could have provided the water. So that's a safety valve for us in the future. Now, one of the things in our study from the parish was to build a $2 million plant up on the north end to provide potable water to North Caddo. And basically, we've been able to, with this project, we would be able to do East Cove, East Mooringsport, Oil City, Blanchard, Beldegill, all that for less than $2 million. Now, that's a good investment. And I know Mr. Johnson has had questions, and I think Baylor has answered those questions. I think our staff, Ken Ward, knows this project inside and out. And I would just ask that y'all support this project. I know Mr. Epperson has a project that Greenwood would like to do. And I think Greenwood has some areas down south of them that have two systems that need help also. And, you know, we did exactly what we're supposed to based on our resolution that said a request had to come from the town, and they did that. They also provide engineering for us. And so they've done their part. I would ask you to go ahead and let's take care of this Blanchard project, and then let's work on this Greenwood project, because if they need help in Greenwood and Four Forks and some of those other places, then we ought to be looking at helping them too. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Okay. Any comments from the public? Did any comments from the public come in, Mr. Clerk?
Did not receive any calls at this time.
All right. Well, then let me ask. We have several members of the public that are on the call now. Several professionals that are engaged with these projects. Any general comments from the public that are the members of the public that are on the call?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Epperson.
If not, I'd just like to make a comment prior to the presentations from Greenwood.
Okay, that would be fine, Mr. Commissioner Epperson, if you'd like to comment now.
Okay. Thank you once again. I'd like to let my prayers and hopes are with Commissioner Hopkins, and he has no issues with me regarding that particular project. So I have no qualms relative to that. However, I do see this as an opportunity where we can continue to serve both needed areas of the parish. Have no reason with it. And I think from what you're going to hear today, is going to be a comprehensive study. This is something that we have dealt with many years in the past. And prior to COVID coming in, this was going to be the breakout relative to this issue at my community meeting, which I had scheduled March 13th prior to the shutting down of everything. So we have exponential growth that's going in the Greenwood and surrounding areas, heading south of 169. And I think we have ample resources to do both of those projects. And I have no qualms with the situation that's going on for Blanchard, because we all need water. That's something that we all need to do. So at this time, I would open the floor for the chairman's wish to the Greenwood authorities to make their presentation. And I'd just like to say, I will be supportive of both issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Falling back onto the agenda, Mr. Clerk, do we have any new business?
We just have to, make it notified that we do have the certificate of teleconference attached. There's no action required on that. And then that does bring us to ordinance number 5981 of 2020, which is our main item for discussion today, including the amendment regarding the Greenwood water system. Do you want me to read the original title of the ordinance at this point?
Yes, just to benefit those on the call that don't have an agenda in front of them.
Absolutely. For reference, we're talking about an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay and the oil and gas fund to provide an appropriation for the construction and improvement of Blanchard water lines that serve unincorporated areas within Caddo Parish and the Beldigill water system, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. As mentioned, this ordinance did have an amendment that was voted on in our last meeting after the public hearing occurred on this ordinance that added the Greenwood water system project as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. So just to get everybody back up to speed, the Beldigill water system in North Caddo has asked the Caddo Commission for approximately $950,000 funding to allow them to upgrade their water system to a greater capacity, which would allow the system to have sufficient capacity to support additional residential and commercial growth along the I-49 corridor and related areas. The Economic Development Committee, this committee forwarded that request affirmatively to the full body of the commission. And during the discussion in the commission body, two issues came up, which have been alluded to previously. One was that Commissioner Epperson was interested in amending the ordinance to include an additional $750,000 to work on a water-related project in West Caddo Parish in the Greenwood area. And Commissioner Johnson was interested in exploring ways to have the Beldigill water system or individuals or residences or businesses using the expanded Beldigill water system to provide some additional financial support to help offset the cost to the parish. So those are the two main issues as I understand them. And another issue, I became aware of another issue this morning, and that was that legal informed the clerk, who then informed me that an amendment of the nature being proposed regarding the $750,000 addition is substantial, and therefore would require that the ordinance be re-advertised before moving forward if this body elects to join both of these projects in that ordinance. So just wanted to make you all aware of that legal issue as well. So with all that being said, Commissioner Epperson, I thought we might take up the Greenwood matter first. Of course, you've already spoken. I see that Frank is here as well. Commissioner Epperson, is there someone else related to the Greenwood project that you would like to see speak at this time on this issue?
No, I would leave that up to the Greenwood staff, however they would want to handle it.
I'll defer to Greenwood. Is there anyone from the Greenwood staff who'd like to speak on behalf of this proposed addition?
Well, yes, this is Frank, and one of the things I can say in relation to that is this has been an area that over the last 8 years, I have had calls from folks that live down off of 169 requesting water. we just were not in a position to put a water line. As I look at it, Baylor's estimates, we've got approximately 10,000 feet of piping, so roughly 2 miles south of where the Greenwood water line terminates is what it takes. In addition to that, we have a subdivision, Rolling Ridge, that currently is using wells. They have had issues, and the former owner of that water system came in many times to talk to me about getting water to them. It was just not feasible for us to do that. The other one is Mount Olive Church, which is down on the corner of Buncombe Road and 169. They had some issues when they built their new facility in relation to being able to have efficient fire suppression. And they had to add some big tanks and things. And he had talked to the minister had talked to me about it. I just couldn't do it. And when Ken advised me about this, I thought, well, this is great because that's an area that's got a lot of homes, and those folks really could use some quality water. And we would be more than happy to be able to participate in this program. I know Ken has, Ken Ward has done some work on this, and he's very familiar with that area. So at this point, I think if Ken's got some things that he could add, that would be helpful.
Dr. Ward?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And my only comments would be that in reviewing the information that you provided from Jimmy Hagan on this particular project, is that as it relates to the 169 corridor, which we are very familiar with, I'm very familiar with Bethany and Rolling Ridge water systems, that the original plan here would be to put an 8-inch line down to Buncombe Road. Our original water plan that we've done would actually require, I think, a little larger size, because the overall plan for the parish would be to try to maybe get Greenwood to be able to supply surface water all the way down to Water District 7, Eagle Water, further down to Four Forks, where we have problems all the time with their wells. So as a larger scope to this, to continue to allow the growth and the plan of our study that we've completed for the parish, is that not just an 8-inch line, but the plan that we've done had showed a 16-inch line, at least down toward the Spring Ridge area, to help facilitate Water District 7 as well as Four Forks. So it's a great project. It's on our list. It's on our master plan that the parish has completed. It just falls a little short from what we think for, just like the Blanchard deal of upsizing at to be able to serve all the way up to Ida. This is kind of there too. So you know, the way I see it, based on our plan that we put together, this is another step toward meeting those goals.
Thank you, Dr. Ward, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, how far along are you all in evaluating this opportunity?
Well, I have a full proposal from Baylor in relation to materials and things of that nature. We haven't officially done anything yet, but I did ask Baylor to put together a scope of what we're going to need so that we could at least make sure that we're talking about the same amount of dollars. And it appears that we're right there at this particular point. So, I mean, I can provide that information. I don't know if Veronica had forwarded that to you, but we can certainly provide it.
We have seen some, or at least I saw something that Ms. Brown had forwarded.
Okay.
Any questions from the committee members? Yes, sir. Commissioner Epperson.
I think Ms. Brown had forwarded all the information, cost analysis and maps and proposed routes, I think, to everyone. And also, I think Commissioner John Paul Young had some questions right after the meeting of last week, and I believe she submitted those also.
Okay.
And if I may Ms. Brown, would you mention some of the growth and some of the things that's happening in the Greenwood area at this particular time, and some proposed in the future?
Pardon? Veronica has passed that to me. I can tell you that right now we've got a number of projects that are underway. One of the biggest ones for us is Tractor Supply is opening a new store. It will be completed and open by the end of this month. In addition to that, we are working on a healthcare facility in Greenwood. We have a number of doctors who have put together a package, and we've got about 4 or 5 different medical facilities that are talking with us right now. So it hopefully early next year, we should have something in the works to provide some medical care, because the closest facility for Greenwood is Willis Knighton on Greenwood Road, and that's about a 14, I think, mile run from here. And for small things, scratches, cuts, and things of that nature, a medical care facility would be just tremendous. In addition, we have been dealing with a couple of grocery chains in relation. It might be a little bit far out, it might be a little premature, but we're working to try to get a grocery store in here. And one of the other big things that we're working on is we are going to make an effort to try to develop an independent school district in Greenwood. We cannot seem to make any headway with the parish, but we really want to get a school out here. A school would be one of the key elements to help really boost the growth in Greenwood. And of course, the big thing about that is if we're growing in Greenwood, Caddo Parish is growing. We're keeping those people and those dollars in this community, and that's really important, I think.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Commissioner Epperson.
And if I may add too, the bulk of where this water access pipeline will be going are in unincorporated areas also.
I'm sorry, did you say the unincorporated areas, Mr. Epperson?
All right. A lot of where this water line will be served in unincorporated areas of the parish, which is direct on our jurisdiction.
Well, I certainly view water as being one of the core functions of a government service, and I'm supportive of providing water where water is needed. I do have some concerns regarding the relative timing of these two projects. Dr. Ward, can you provide any insight into the shovel readiness of these two projects, shall we say?
Well, obviously the Blanchard site is already bid. Contractor is ready to be awarded, and construction can probably begin within 40 days. As for the Greenwood site, I'm sure Jimmy could probably respond a little more about it, but I think a little more work is going to be needed to get that project out for a bid and get it through the 25-day bid process, award it, and fund it and award it. So one of them is pretty much ready to go, and the other one is a little further down the line.
Chairman, a couple people have their hands raised.
I'm sorry, I don't see the, let me put up my participant thing here. Was that, who came first, Lyndon or Mario?
Vice President put his hand up before I did.
All right, Commissioner Johnson?
Well, I just wanted to talk on the Blanchard one. The one in Greenwood, to me, well, let me start off first to say that I think that we should supply water to all areas if they got development going. I'm not against that at all, because clean water means a lot to any community. And that what makes a community thrive is by having clean water. So I'm not against neither project. I just want more clarification and more understanding on the dollars being spent as opposed to fighting the actual project. There are some things that I want to see and option. We want to do this. I want to know what options are. When again. But that's why I had my hand up.
Okay. We lost you at the end there, Commissioner Johnson. But I understand you're looking.
Because I always got bad reception.
Okay. You are looking for some options regarding how we might reimburse the parish. Is that correct? So maybe you can get back to us. In the meantime, I think I'll ask John Paul to speak first, and then Mario.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think both these proposals sound good. I appreciate Dr. Ward's analysis of what stages that they're in. I didn't get some of the, so for the Greenwood project, I didn't yet get like an engineer's report, and I wasn't sure if they were planning to do the same type of thing as the Beldigo system, where they got state money to pay for a new water line and they wanted us to upsize it for future uses. Is that the plan, or were we just going to help pay for the 8-inch pipeline and then hope that that's enough? That question is for, I suppose, anybody from Greenwood with knowledge about this, or maybe Dr. Ward.
Is Veronica trying to talk? She's muted.
I am, Ken. Could Jimmy Hagan, could you speak to that? You would be more versed.
Yes. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The plan on Greenwood is that the parish's investment in that water main would reflect the value of the full value of that construction project. It would not be for upsizing. It would just be for installation of the line down there. So that would be full parish participation on that project. The Blanchard project, again, is one where it would be some other additional funding to make the lines larger. So there's funds available up there in Blanchard from the LDH Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund. In the Greenwood project, it's more a case of extending the line down to that Mount Olive area down Highway 169 at the parish's expense.
So just to be clear, Mr. Hagan, the Greenwood is asking for the parish to fund the extension of that line beyond what its beyond the current project size. Is that correct?
In Greenwood or Blanchard?
In Greenwood.
Greenwood is not a case of upsizing. It's a case of actually paying for the construction cost of the main entirely.
Okay. So is there any state funding supporting that Greenwood project?
There is not.
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Is it possible to apply for state funding for the project? I think I asked this question and got a response from Ms. Brown that said that there was a block grant that was being used from the state.
I think I might be able to answer that.
Okay.
There is funding available that you can apply for through the LDH Water System Consolidation Fund. And one of the things that Greenwood's talking about is they too have invested in a water treatment plant, surface water treatment plant, and they've owned one for many years. They've expanded their plant to be able to serve areas of Caddo Parish outside of Greenwood and growth in Greenwood. The source of funding that Blanchard is using on their project is a special little fund that the LDH has, and that's to consolidate systems. That's when they take systems and incorporate them or assimilate them into their system, much like Todd described East Cove and East Mooringsport, like Blanchard did with East Cove and East Mooringsport a number of years ago. Like I believe Mr. Epperson or Mayor Frank has said, there are similar opportunities out there in Southwest Caddo because you have Waterworks District number 7 that's out there. You've got Eagle Water, Four Forks, Rolling Ridge. There's probably as many water systems down in that area. You got Panola Bethany water system, which straddles the Texas-Louisiana line down on Highway 79. There are also possibilities out there and opportunities for Greenwood to provide a public water supply superior to the one that most of those communities currently have by extending their system down into that area. I don't think that they're quite at the point that Blanchard is with that project, and that's simply because they got a little bit later start on it.
Thank you.
So combining those systems and getting some of the water users there off of well systems, do you think that those would qualify for the same type of state funding that Blanchard received? And if so, could we then, instead of paying the whole cost, could we pay to upsize the line there as we're doing with the Beldegill system so that they could have a greater range of uses in the future?
That's certainly possible. Yes.
Commissioner Young, anything else?
I would just say that you know, I would like to see the I think that the Blanchard proposal is a really good model for going forward, and I would love to see Greenwood do the same thing. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chavez, you've had your I should say, Commission President Chavez, you've had your hand raised for a while.
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to make a motion to separate the two, and if I can get a second, I'll speak on it.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if that was Commissioner Young or the chairman. It sounds like from what Dr. Ward said, the Blanchard project is ready to go. And I know the mayor as well as Commissioner Hopkins have been working very hard on this. And then the fact that legal has to, we will have to re-advertise because of the additional funds. I'm not against the second one by all means. Love Mayor Frank and everything they're doing down there in Greenwood. I would like to see this come back and we get them both done. But I don't want this coupling to prolong the work that's already been done with Blanchard. So I would like to just see us vote to separate them so we can get Blanchard out of the way, get that done, and then focus on Greenwood. And I do like what Commissioner Young said is if we can try to follow a similar model on the Greenwood side of all the work that Blanchard's doing. That's all, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner President Chavez. So we have a motion from Commissioner Chavez to separate these two projects into, I don't know if they'd be called separate ordinances, but maybe I should say we will remove the proposed addition to the original ordinance. Would that properly reflect your motion, Commissioner Chavez?
That's correct.
All right. So if that's the motion, do we have any comments on that from the committee?
I just have one comment that I'd like to see this get done, just because unfortunately our colleague is in the hospital, and I'd like to see him come home. But if he has to stay there longer and anything happens, I want to get this out of the way and not have him worry about it anymore for the district he represents.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Again, any?
You see my hand?
No, I did. Now I see you can. Okay. Commissioner Epperson.
Okay. I agree with Commissioner Chavez. That's what I was going to do. I was going to make a motion that we move forward with the original ordinance as has been advertised, and that the legal would prepare a new ordinance relative to the amount and request of $750,000 to place on the agenda for the Greenwood water system. Okay. And also, like I told Todd from the top, he shouldn't even be on here. I have no issues with it. I applaud the work that he has. He just needs to get well, and we'll handle up on this. But the thing about it is, we all that have been here know the case of what has happened with water in Caddo Parish in the past years. Some wells were sucking mud. And if you don't have good quality water, you cannot have good potential growth. And the growth is there. This is an opportunity while we have funds. We want to make sure that we are expending these funds. If we had to foot this whole bill for now, it will pay off in the long run. And I'm pretty sure between the citizens of Greenwood and the elected membership over there, we will find some kind of way that the people will be grateful to tie into it. Maybe some kind of little user fee or something of that nature. But I think we will experience great benefits from what we're doing at this point in time. And of course, Bethany is right down the road, as Mr. Hagan said, and the other water districts. And that's what we need. We don't need these haphazard nip and tuck little water system that we have in place that will stifle our growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Okay, I'd like for us to go ahead and vote on this motion, and then once we get this determined, we can come back to the issues that Commissioner Johnson has raised regarding some of the funding mechanisms or fees or whatever issues are on his mind. But Mr. Clerk, could we have a roll call vote on Commissioner Chavez's motion, please?
Absolutely. And let's see, we'll start Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts. Is she back on? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
And Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously with 5 in support and none in opposition.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Clerk, and thank you, Commissioner Epperson, for working with us to find a solution there. It's nice to see everybody on the same page. Now I see Commissioner Johnson has dialed back on. Maybe we can get some additional input from him from a line that we can hear a little bit better. Commissioner Johnson, are you out there?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Basically, my questions were around the project that we're talking about now, the Blanchard project. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not totally against the project, but what I'm looking at is how do we, as a governmental body, at least get some money back on this particular project. This is not a do or die kind of deal. This is more of an option. You know, when you go to a car lot, if you're looking at a Chevrolet, but you kind of want a Cadillac, and now you're steering towards you want to get a Cadillac, you know, you there's a difference between the two. Both vehicles would get you to A to B, but we just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing with taxpayers' dollars. I asked a series of questions to our staff and also to Blanchard. I think it went to the engineer that's working with Blanchard on the water system. And basically the state has, you know, my deal was the state basically came up with some sizes of 8 inches and 12 inches to do this project. And that was basically the cost of the deal. And now Blanchard wants to come in and change the 8s to 12s and 12s to 16. Well, even looking at that, once you open the hole up or you dig the trench, the cost is going to be the same. The only price difference is going to be basically buying 16-inch pipe instead of buying 8-inch pipe. And to me, that seemed a lot to be for $1.1 million when all this is going to be pretty much the same cost. And that's the reason I had a series of questions. I do know in some other past projects, there was questions about how much will be the break even to do on this project. How long will it take? None of these questions came up on this particular project. Even though I posed those questions, I still didn't get an answer to them. If we don't spend $1 on this project will still happen. Blanchard will still put in the 8-inch lines and the 12-inch lines. So water will still be getting to that community. I can understand for further expansion and development, but how far down the road are we talking about? Are we talking 1 to 5 years, or are we talking 20 to 30 years? By that time, a lot of things can change. I know Blanchard will charge an additional amount of money to the citizens outside the city limits as opposed to the ones inside the city limits. So water is water. I mean, if it costs $10 to process through a filter to get clean water out, that's $10 as opposed to what they charge the citizens and what they charge the citizens inside the city limits. That's what they charge the citizens outside the city limits. So the city of Blanchard will be making some money on this particular deal. They also going to be charging to have the people to connect to the lines. And so there will be some revenue for Blanchard coming in with the connection to lines and with the charging of being outside the city limits. And for the parish just to say, well, here's $1.1 million and look for nothing in return. I just think that someone needs to say, hey, we need to have something in return. And then what's the cost of Blanchard itself? How much is Blanchard put into this project? I know what they did to the water plant in hopes of upgrading it in the past, but at the same time, what are you doing now for this particular project? I just don't think that if they taking money from the parish and taking money from the state, and they're not putting any money into the project, then I just think that that's wrong for the citizens. And then when we look at upgrading roads in neighborhoods, and we charge residents either 10, 20, or 30%, sometimes 40% on improving that road in front of their home, and then we have a municipality that we can charge something to or get some kind of payback from, and we say, oh, don't pay us back. I think it's a bad message to me, to the public. So that's the only reason and the only concern I really have.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. I understand those are relevant points. Dr. Ward, can you share with us like what the protocol is on this type of development? Obviously, by the whole intention of expanding the capacity from 8 to 12 and 12 to 16 is to provide additional capacity to help stimulate or entice or support economic development, both commercial economic development and residential growth in North Caddo. But are there, so there will be some compensation to the parish through that, but are there precedents for charging additional or recouping, charging fees to recoup capital expenditures for these types of projects?
Well, Commissioner, only thing I can really talk on would be the last two projects we did, one for Vivian and one for Oil City. The exact same type of projects. We upsized the line all the way to I-49 to provide for growth for those. And what we did there is we were able to have a economic impact study done. It goes hand in hand with our cooperative endeavor agreement with that organization. And if memory serves me right, that I think the payback on the parish's investment only was somewhere between a 21 and a 25-year payback at a certain growth rate. And both of those proved to be in that growth was a very conservative growth rate that we planned for. And the same thing would be done with this project. From what I can remember and what I would plan on doing during this economic impact study would probably show back somewhere in the same range of a 20 to 25-year payback without any investment or without any payback from the organization, through user fees or through gallons sold or anything like that, the parish with a conservative growth rate would receive the payback in about a 20 to 25 year time frame.
Okay. So if just hypothetically, if the parish were to approve this funding for the upsizing, then that would be contingent upon an economic development study that showed a reasonable time frame for payback and a cooperative endeavor agreement. Are there opportunities to negotiate additional fees for service through that cooperative endeavor agreement?
I'm sure there is. We only have two precedents behind us to go from. Neither one of those did that. We used the economic impact study to show, and I'm sure someone from legal is on, Henry's on, and he could state that when we do spend taxpayers' dollars and doing projects like that, we've got to show that the commission is going to get their money back somehow or another, and doing a economic impact study to show that those funds come back is the way to do that. Now, if the commission chooses to recoup their funding a faster way, such as asking for funds from the organization, or impact fees, or another way other than economic impact through growth, that's completely up to you guys.
Well, it's difficult to negotiate from a committee standpoint, especially in on a Zoom call. So I understand and respect Commissioner Johnson's perspective on this, but I don't have a solution for how to reconcile it.
I got another question.
Commissioner Johnson's back. Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Can I speak now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess my main thing is we've already spent $600,000 on the study. We spent $351,000 for the Vivian water line upgrade. We spent $427,000 for the All City water line upgrade. And I'm saying in this project, we're looking at $1.1 million. Well, at the same time, you're talking from 8 to 12 and a 12 to 16. Well, when you look at the whole project, the only thing that they will be doing is not buying the 8-inch lines and be buying 16-inch lines and maybe some additional 12-inch lines. And that shouldn't be $1.1 million.
Well,
when you dig the hole gonna cost the same. The hole gonna cost the same to dig the hole. The 12-inch lines, you already bought some of those under the $3.7 million from the state. Instead of buying the 8-inch lines, you're gonna be buying 16-inch lines. So where you fall short on the 16-inch lines, that's where our money should come in at if we're gonna do it. So that should be a much less dollar amount than the $1.1 million, is what I'm saying. So we need someone to do a fact check on the dollars on the material to say, well, if you want to upgrade, this is what we'll be willing to do. Because digging a hole is going to be the same cost. The labor is going to be the same. We're talking about taking out the 8-inch and putting in 16-inch, because the 12-inch is going to substitute for the 8-inch.
Well, the new number.
And the 16 is going to substitute for the 12.
Just to be clear, the new number that's been quoted is, I think, 950 or something in that range. Andy Craig, do you have a comment on that?
No, I'll let Jimmy address that. They're the ones that received the bids and knows the numbers.
Okay, Jimmy.
I would add, I was going to mention a couple of things. First off, the town of Blanchard actually did originally request 12 and 16-inch mains from LDH through the water consolidation program. The cost of that project would have been $5.7 million. LDH came back and said, while they're supportive of that, they didn't want to invest. That would have been a disproportionate amount of all the money they received to consolidate systems all over the state. So they came back and asked the town to reconsider the project and reduce the line sizes. And we did that back in the first of the year, around January or February. And it reduced the project cost to that $3.7 million we've been talking about. So in fact, the town did ask for 12 and 16-inch mains from LDH originally. And I guess if LDH had an unlimited amount of money to give to consolidate systems, they might have participated to that extent, but they didn't. To answer, I think, specifically Commissioner Johnson's question, we do have bids that were taken from that we received about 2 weeks ago. And the way we approached the bid was we designed 8-inch and 12-inch lines. And then we had an alternate price that the contractor gave for upgrading the 8-inch lines to 12 and the 12-inch lines to 16. And so they're like 5 or 6 bidders on the project. And we did that so that the parish could see, the town and the parish could see what exactly was the cost to put 8 and 12 in, and exactly what the cost would be to put 12 and 16. So those costs are per foot, and they're in a bid tab that we sent over yesterday to Ken. We couldn't send it any sooner because we couldn't issue the bid tab before we issued a letter of award or letter of recommendation to the low bidder, or 14 days. And it's been 14 days since the bid. So we went ahead and sent that information over to Ken. So it's not a guess on the number. It's an actual number, and it's shown in this bid tab that it would be public record now that it's been issued or been sent over.
Okay, Ken, can you send that to me sometime?
Yes, sir. I sent it out this morning. I had hoped that you'd already received it before today, but I'll make sure you get a copy. I'll make sure all commissioners get a copy.
All right, thank you.
And that information could certainly be utilized in working through a cooperative endeavor agreement. So any other, Leonard, is that a new hand raise or?
No, that was the original.
Okay.
I'll take it down.
Again, these are all valid points. I appreciate Commissioner Johnson's attention to detail, and maybe the $950,000 number can be skinny down as we work through this process. When I say we work, as the parish works through this process down the road. Any other comments or questions from the committee? I see Commissioner Epperson's hand is raised, and then John Paul as well.
Is legal is on, right?
Yes, sir.
I am.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure they understood the text of the motion where they could prepare the proper resolution for the ordinance.
Right. Yeah, we will get with finance because since it's a budget ordinance, finance will be the one in charge of it, but we will get with them. And I see Ms. Barnett's on the call, so she's aware of it.
10-4. Thank you.
John Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wonder if Dr. Ward and maybe our legal team and maybe Ms. Barnett could get together with some possible schemes for repayment by eventual users of the increased size water lines so that we could satisfy some of Commissioner Johnson's concerns. I don't know how much it's going to cost, for instance, to connect to the line, but if a Tractor Supply company, for instance, is moving there, $10,000 extra might not be a lot to them, but it would help cover some of the cost. Similarly, for housing developments that go in, perhaps there could be, a startup fee that could come back to the parish coffers to start to pay us back ahead of the time frame of 20 to 25 years. And perhaps some of that could be incorporated, or different versions of it could be incorporated into the economic impact assessment that's being prepared. Thank you.
Commissioner Young, are you looking at those issues being addressed before this ordinance goes to the full body for consideration, or after the ordinance as part of the cooperative endeavor agreement?
That's a hard question for me to answer. From a contract negotiation standpoint, it seems that they would be better to address beforehand, because once you write a check to someone, they have the check. But I'm open-minded about it.
They don't get the check until the cooperative endeavor agreement is signed.
Right. So perhaps that could be built into the cooperative endeavor agreement at the right time, and just be one of the conditions of getting the funding.
Okay, Mr. Bernstein, did you have an issue?
I did. Yeah, we will be glad to get with finance and talk about that. I'm not sure how practical that's going to be, because the parish's money won't be putting a new line in the ground for users to tie into. It's just going to mean that the line's bigger. So how we distinguish between a user that was going to tie into that line, and actually my appreciation is that these are not going to be lines that users are going to be tapping into. These are going to be lines that are going to be supplying existing systems with existing users. And so the ultimate users down the line aren't going to be tapping into the lines that we're paying for, as I appreciate it. And perhaps Mr. Hagan can speak to that. But my understanding is that what we're being asked to pay for is going to be more in the sense of a big main as opposed to a distribution line where users would be tapping into it.
Mr. Hagan? And then we'll get back to you, Ken Epperson, in a minute. Commissioner Epperson.
Yeah, to answer Mr. Bernstein's question, it is a water transmission main, simply because of the fact that it would be 12 or 16 inches in diameter. But it can be tapped by individual users that are along the route of that main. There's not a great deal of users out there in that I-49 corridor right now. But if there was a need to tap that main for an individual residence or an individual commercial establishment or an industry, they could do that if they were adjacent to that main. So it's really a transmission distribution main. It can be tapped for any of those uses.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hagan. Commissioner Epperson, I think your hand is up again.
I was gonna call for a motion to adjourn if all business been taken care of.
Well, we still, I think we still need to vote on whether to forward this ordinance to the full body as is, or if it needs to be amended or not forwarded.
I thought, that wasn't what we did when we voted initially, to separate the two and forward them to administration to make the separate ordinance.
I was under the impression we made the motion. Did someone interrupt?
No.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, no, so the motion that you made was to separate the two and address the address them separately. So I was of the understanding that that meant that both were gonna, that the Greenwood one will be drafted and introduced, but it hasn't been yet.
Yeah, so I still think, correct me if I'm wrong, Clerk Everson, but I thought we still needed to forward the original ordinance to the body.
Yes, you're correct. So what you've done is you've made a motion to recommend separating the two, but then you probably need another motion that would make the recommendation of what to do once separated.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to work through, Commissioner Epperson. Go ahead.
I make a motion that we forward the original resolution to the full body for favorable consideration, and also have staff to prepare a new ordinance for introduction relative to the Greenwood water system.
Do we have a second? Well, I'll second that. I think Commissioner Young seconded as well.
Also, I believe Commissioner Gage Watch may have. I saw she was trying to talk. I'm not sure.
All right, why don't we make her the second on that one?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, I have my mask on. Thank you.
All right. I don't want to rush this conversation, but I know some people have to break off at noon, and I don't want to lose a quorum. So could we have a roll call vote, please, Mr. Clerk?
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
And Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes unanimously with 5 in support and none in opposition.
Okay. Other issues to be covered? All right, we can have a motion to adjourn.
Move for adjournment.
Second by John. So motion by Commissioner Epperson, second by John Paul. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all.
Thank y'all, commissioners. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Feel better, John.